Elisa Orduna, Tyrone Howard, and Melina Abdullah as they signed copies of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. You can purchase your books on site and get them autographed. That's Wednesday evening, August 14th, 6 to 9 p.m. in the city of Los Angeles. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580. That's our reparations song for today on this Freedman Friday. Little James Brown, the big payback. And joining me in studio right now, I'm really excited to have him here. He is our state senator with a lifetime of experience. He brings to the California legislature over 2 decades of public service, first as a Gardena City Councilmember, then as a State Assemblymember, now as a state senator, and maybe as a lieutenant governor next. Senator Steven Bradford, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I forgot Jazz Festival promoter, founder, producer, promoter. You got a lot going on.
You know, can't keep a job.
Or maybe you have a lot of jobs. But we were just talking last hour about how, reparations is so important to our community, Black Americans in particular. And that's why we launched this Freedman Friday, just because we want to stay abreast of what's going on. It feels like there's a lot of momentum in this space. Is that how you see it?
Yes and no. I mean, it's a lot of interest, but there's still great hesitancy by some elected officials, both on the local, state, and federal level, to move forward in a real meaningful way. I'm excited at where we are in California, introducing the first reparations task force in the nation that was authored by now our Secretary of State, Shirley Weber. And it was a 9-member task force that convened for 2 years all across the state of California. And I was honored to be one of those 9. And we came up with our final report last June. And it's very comprehensive. It's 1,100 pages. It's 115 recommendations on what reparations should be, not could be, but should be, here in California, across the nation. So that's the foundation in which to work from, and I'm hoping more folks will at least read the report.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working on it.
But it's an executive summary that also kind of like gives you the abridged version of what's there and gives you a great foundation of understanding California's role in slavery, even though many times they say we were not a slave state. We were very much so.
Senator Bradford, I guess when I say momentum, I'm looking, back to, we've been talking about this on the radio since the 90s, with Dick Gregory and such. And I really didn't think it would be move from the fringe to the mainstream to actual legislation in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And we're definitely there.
Yeah, I mean, we are there, but it's still a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And again, until we embrace it on a national level, will it really, have the impact that is needed to have? I mean, California is a fine example of what can be done. We often say, so goes California, so goes the nation. So we're going to be that North Star as we move forward on addressing reparations. And hopefully we'll come up with some substantive stuff that the governor will sign in the next 30 to 60 days that will be the foundation to build upon.
When you say some politicians have been slow to embrace it, I think you're being kind. I think a lot are afraid of it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it could be that albatross that stops you from being reelected or moving up the political food chain. Why does that not worry you?
I mean, if you do this job with fear, then you'll never be effective. I mean, you can't stick your finger in the wind, see which way it's blowing in order to make a decision. So if you run for office and it's about service, then you take on all those issues that are meaningful and will have great impact on the people that you're trying to serve. And reparations is one of those things that should have long time been addressed. I mean, it's 160 years overdue. And so if I'm doing this based on my next election, then shame on me.
Yeah, we were just talking about this idea of boldness, something that you never seem to lack. But it seems like it's tough when you're in political office because you have so many people you have to please.
I mean, it requires a balancing act. You have to compromise, but at the same time, you got to be willing to confront those individuals, those naysayers many times that haven't done their homework, and they're speaking from not a real foundational base, but more of emotional or misinformation that they've been fed for years, and not really delving down and understanding our history. As we often say, there's stories that made America and then stories that America has made up. Much of what we tell is the stories that America has made up.
Yeah. What out of that 2 years on the task force, what really, you're an educated guy, you're in the political arena. What surprised you the most or really kind of gobsmacked you, if anything, out of all that you learned and all that was presented during that report? I
mean, I learned so much more about slavery myself. I mean, thinking I understood, the challenges that blacks had and being brought to this country, but having a real understanding of the contributions that we made to this country as enslaved people. We would not be the leading economy in the world. We would not lead in so many other things that we do lead in if it wasn't for almost 300 years of free labor. Imagine if you had 300 years of free labor, what kind of empire or industry that you could build. America, it has been built on that, and a lot of folks want to deny that fact. We are who we are today because we took advantage of a whole lot of people that were brought here against their will. And I learned that to such a degree. Even the medical advances that we made in this country, most of them were performed on slaves. Most of the medical techniques that we have today were why we have this misnomer that blacks can tolerate pain more so than anybody else, because they were subjected to all kind of horrific experiments on their body while they're alive, as well as once they were dead. There were many corpses of former slaves that had been mutilated because of science experiments, learning about the human body and our organisms. Most of them, they learned that through, dissecting slaves, not, fish and frogs and everything else that we did in school. It's because they had slaves to take advantage of. So understanding the agricultural advancements in this country, most of that was developed by slaves. When you talk about rotating crops to preserve our soils and our nutrients in the grounds, slaves did that. Booker T. Washington advanced that. I mean, but we bury those stories so much. So that's what I learned on that task force, of our amazing contributions to this country.
The irony of that's being considered not human, but also advancing human medicine by being experimental humans. It's just mind-boggling. There were 14 initial bills and some other stuff that you've put forth. And I want to touch on where we are with those things when we continue. I feel like, there was initially a lot of disappointment because of cash reparations not being on the table. I know it's a tough budget year, but you have put in place the mechanisms, or at least the beginnings of the mechanisms that we need to be able to implement cash reparations or any other kind of major programs, right?
Well, we're putting forth the foundation to implement reparations regardless of what it looks like. And without a foundation, without infrastructure, you can't meet out whatever that is. So that's what 1403, SB 1403, the Freedman Affairs Bureau is all about. It's putting up the framework so we can determine not only who's eligible, but how do we dispense those reparations, whether it's continued education, ongoing health care, first-time home buyers assistance. we need some kind of governmental agency to do that. So that's what 1403 does.
And so, right, so you got to have an agency or some kind of mechanism, and you have to have a funding source, right? Whether it's fully funded or not.
Without a doubt. And we have a bill, SB 1331, that stands up the funding source. And it's not necessarily from the state government. It's from national grants. It's from philanthropic, contributions. It's from federal money as well. So many folks say, how do we pay for it? Well, we find ways to pay for all those other things that we want. If we're committed to this, we can find the funds and the resources necessary to fund reparations.
And it wouldn't necessarily have to all be there right at once, right? It could be dealt with over time, like the way we deal with many things.
Reparations won't be a one and done. This will be decades of standing this up and providing those resources to individuals. Again, you're talking about over almost 300 years of slavery, so you can't fix that in a year. You won't fix it in 10 years. I mean, this should be ongoing. So yes, we need to have an ongoing funding source to address many of those folks who were harmed, those descendants of chattel slavery here in California and across this nation.
We're talking with California State Senator Steven Bradford. It's Freedman Friday, and I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $2,860 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
History is being made. LA Civil Rights and the LA City Reparations Advisory Commission is about to unveil a groundbreaking reparations report. Come learn more about the impact of the Black experience in Los Angeles. Join us on Tuesday, August 27th, 5 p.m. at CSUN's Student Union for the official release and panel discussion. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit laisforeveryone.com. Again, laisforeveryone.com. Be part of this monumental moment.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Senator Steven Bradford. It is Freedman Friday. And you're getting a lot of thank yous in our YouTube chat. Paul Lee says, thank you, Senator Bradford, for all your hard work, brother. You've got Molly Bell saying, much love and respect for all this task force has done and will do. And Barbara says, Senator Bradford, thank you for serving the residents of California. You're getting a lot of love. And you get a lot of love almost every week on Freedman Friday, because I feel like people appreciate your boldness, but also the fact that the practicality of saying, okay, what do we need? You keep saying we've got a long way to go. What do we need to move this forward? And how do we not just get caught up in an idea and make it into a concrete reality that can continue to progress?
By letting our voices be heard, by having a unified message that say, hey, this is what's important to us, and challenging those non-believers, those non-supporters. I mean, we have to find our non-African American allies, and surprisingly, I shouldn't say surprisingly, I'm glad that a few have come on board as co-authors of my bill, non-African Americans.
Now, which bill are we talking about?
We're talking about, I think it was 1050 and I forgot which one. It might maybe have been I know 1050 and I think 1403. So I appreciate those colleagues, those real allies who stepped up on board.
Now, is that the result of I'm imagining a lot of conversation, a lot of education that you're doing with not just with black people as well as non-black people to support reparations?
Yeah, it's about relationships and trust, and these individuals understanding what we're trying to do, and understanding again our history. And understanding our history makes it an easy decision. But again, if you don't understand our history and you choose not to believe our history and understand the contributions of African Americans, you can find 1,000,001 excuses of why we shouldn't have reparations. And so I appreciate those allies who have delved into this issue, have understood what role California has played, and willing to add their name to the legislation as co-authors as we move forward. So I appreciate them.
What's the impact of the apology? We had an apology bill as part of the package. That one passed, right?
Well, it hasn't been signed, but yeah, it moved through the houses, and surprisingly, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but sadly, a lot of members stayed off of it.
Meaning they just didn't want to vote one way or the other.
Yeah, but why?
Back to the concept of boldness.
We're talking about an apology.
Yeah.
I mean, healing starts with an apology, and you can't bring yourselves to apologize. That's troubling to me. So, but it has gotten off of both floors, and so we're excited about that. And,
I mean, I know that people associate apology with liability, which is why I also think it's important to me. It seems like it would bolster any other reparation claim.
Yeah, it would. I mean, we apologize to our Japanese brothers and sisters for World War II and the internment. Ronald Reagan wasn't president at that time, but he saw the need to apologize. Even this governor, Gavin Newsom, he deserves a lot of credit for not only signing the task force bill to start all of this conversation, but embracing the apology himself and doing that. I mean, even when I did Bruce's Beach 3 years ago, he signed it right there in Manhattan Beach, and he apologized. He had nothing to do with that, but he saw the need for an apology. So apology goes a long way to start the healing process.
He apologized before the city of Manhattan Beach apologized.
Without a doubt. He surely did.
Yeah. And actually, as someone that a lot of people believe, a lot of pundits believe that Governor Newsom will go for the White House at some point, that is pretty bold.
Without a doubt. Yeah, he's a courageous type guy.
Because that could be definitely used to beat a person up. When will it be signed, if it is signed? And
well, that's a resolution. So yeah, you're right. That's done. I was thinking about the bills, but yeah, the resolution. Yeah.
So when will the governor? When will we get the governor's sign off?
Well, we have to get them through both houses.
Right.
So my bills are still in the assembly. Once we get them out of the assembly and it comes back to Senate for concurrence,
concurrence means you guys agree between
you get
both
two
houses versions of the bill, right?
And our legislative year ends at the end of August, so they'll be on his desk on September 1st, and he has 30 days to sign them. So we can look for a signature, end of September at the latest.
Is this does that mean this is a critical time for us, the voters, to weigh in?
Without a doubt.
You're talking about whether a bill is still in the assembly or still in the Senate. It needs to get passed out of there, out of committees, full floor vote, and into the other chamber.
Without a doubt. We're pretty much out of committees, and now it's just bringing them to the floor. And so that's the next 30 days will be well, not 30 days. We only have 2 weeks left in this legislative year. So you get them.
So what is effective? I mean, you've sat in plenty of lawmaker seat.
Calling, emailing, letting your voice be heard. I mean, your voice matters. And, it's a issue going through the legislature right now. In the last 3 days, I probably received over 300 emails saying oppose this measure.
Really?
Yes. I mean, and that's on a light stream. They're blowing our system got froze the other day because I got so many emails. So I encourage folks to not only write your legislator, but those other ones, whether it's in the assembly, those other 79 that don't represent you, let them know where you stand. And in the Senate, those other, 39 that don't represent you, let them know where you stand.
So that means in the next 2 weeks, we need to not just let people know, our senators and our assembly persons know that we need, that we want them to vote for these. They need to go to the floor, and we need to pressure them to get them out of their chamber and onto the governor's desk.
Do the right thing.
And then once September 1st hits, it's time to start hitting up the governor because he's got 30 days.
Yeah. And they might get to his desk before. They very well might get there next week. But, you have 30 days, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Chad is in the chat saying support the CJEC calls to action. You can find, and actually they're doing something I think is really cool, which is they're reading the report on YouTube. So you can go to their website. I think it's the CJEC official and actually listen. But I didn't realize the opposition was mobilizing in that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're always working.
So and when you see that, how do you react? I mean, it seems like it would scare some folks. 300 letters. When do you get 300 emails on anything?
Depending on what the measure is, you wouldn't be surprised at stuff that, people decide to respond to, be it in support or opposition to. So, yeah.
I think one of the things that I was impressed with the task force is the way that you guys were able to take the concerns of people who are more on the Pan-African side of, philosophy side of the reparations movement and folks that are more on the lineage side. And that's how I perceive it, and move forward and create sort of a model that could be used nationally.
Yeah. It was a balancing act. I mean, we had a whole lot of contentious hearings and people making arguments, but I tried to stay true to what the bill was, true to what the author wanted, and who reparations were designed for. So, but yes, we're going to capture a few more people, or a lot more people, I say, in the process. But yeah, we were trying to be very intentional in making sure that we address those who truly were harmed or their ancestors were harmed through chattel slavery here in this country.
Darlene Crumdy says a lot of love that is well deserved. But when you talk about elected office, it's not just love. It's also votes. It's also emails, and it's also money, right?
Yes. They say my money is the mother's milk of politics. So, yeah.
and so that doesn't mean you have to be Elon Musk and be able to send $45 million a month. But showing up as a supporter, whether it's on the Obama level of a $5 or $10 contribution, or whether it's more than that, that's also part of the power game, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And sadly, we don't play it enough. I mean, when you hear the amount of money that needs to be raised in a campaign or for a political proposition or something, they say, "Ooh," but I says, you can give that if you had it. So eat the elephant one bite at a time. If it's $10 a week or $50 a month, do that. Whereas they see, oh, you got to raise $100 million, and they panic. I'm like, well, you couldn't write a $100 million check if you had it, because there are campaign limits, contribution limit. So, I'm just, everybody does a part. I mean, I use Bernie Sanders as a prime example, one of the early guys who raised over $100 million when he ran for president, and his average contribution was less than $100.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think reason I bring it up is because I feel like sometimes as black people, especially black Americans from the cities, we're kind of counted out as a force. It's like, oh, they're not going to contribute or whatever. But like you said, we all pitch in $10 or $100. It can be very impactful.
But we got to make sure they don't count us out by putting our money behind our mouth, and our actions. I mean, we have to do that as well.
Chad also says here in the chat, Bradford for lieutenant governor. You are running for lieutenant governor. You're termed out, which means you cannot stay in the Senate as much as many of us would love for you to stay there and help get this reparations stuff completed. Why lieutenant governor?
Because it's a work position. It has great impact. It's not a powerful position, as all my friends are saying, Bradford, it has no power there. But you sit on boards and commissions. You sit on the UC boards of regents. You sit on the CSUs. You sit on our community college. You're on the Land Commission. You're on Economic Development Commission. Those agencies that have great impact on individuals' futures and the future of California. It's a roll up your sleeves, put your head down type of work. It's boards and commissions that the governor can't spend time being part of. So that's the work that you do. And it's a quiet job, but if you do it right, it's a very effective job, because we care about the environment. So you sit on the Lands Commission, you sit on Coastal Commission, you can let your voices be heard. When you talk about the taking of land, we can be able to explore where properties once belonged to, be it our Native Americans or African Americans, through land commissions. You can have those type of access to those type of resources, information, improving our college system and making sure college is affordable. So those are real impactful agencies and issues that you deal with as a lieutenant governor, and that's what I want to do, and I have no desire to go beyond that. So that would be
interesting.
My end-all be-all.
Okay, I got to follow up on that after news, traffic, and sports, but certainly you would want a voice like Senator Steve Bradford on all of those commissions and boards where many times pivotal decisions are being made and we don't even know it. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Colorado funeral home owners accused of mishandling 190 bodies has been ordered to pay grieving families $950 million in a civil suit settlement. Kamala Harris is the first black woman to lead a major national ticket and running mate. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz continued to hold large rallies on their campaign tour of several battleground states this week. Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance, who is also on the campaign trail, has been telling rally-goers that if elected, he and former President Donald Trump will deport all of those who are in the United States illegally. And that's the latest. I'm Ree Harris on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The U.S. men's 4x400 meter relay team advanced to Saturday's finals in the Summer Olympics. That means most of the world will get a chance to see the youngest member of the U.S. track and field team in Olympics history. 16-year-old Quincy Wilson of Chesapeake, Virginia is still in high school, but he was good enough to make the U.S. Olympic team. Wilson is in the leadoff spot on the relay team. The 4x400 relay is scheduled for noon Saturday on NBC and the USA Network. The Chargers and Rams play their NFL preseason openers this weekend. The Chargers, with new head coach Jim Harbaugh, play Seattle on Saturday at SoFi Stadium, 4 p.m. kickoff. The Rams play the Dallas Cowboys Sunday at SoFi, kickoff at 1:30. The Angels took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees in New York. They're in Washington tonight to start a 3-game series against the Nationals. The Dodgers lead in the NL West had dropped to 2.5 games over San Diego. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelenos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV. Join Black Women for Wellness 25th Annual Reproductive Justice Conference on August 15th at the California Endowment Center. Unite to protect Black women's rights and become an advocate for change. Tickets on sale now at bwwla.org. That's bwwla.org.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Attention, if you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They are experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and will fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
What's up? I'm Miles.
Hey, and I'm Jara.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich is how the flavors come together. First, I taste the smoky grilled chicken, then the pepper bacon with that maple bun, added with the sweet heat and the pickles.
I'm really sold on the pickle. It meets you in the middle with the sweetness and the heat.
It's spice-tastic.
Yum-licious.
Flavoristic.
The sandwich of the summer. The Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich.
Order the Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
It's better over here.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're talking with Senator Steven Bradford. He actually made history when he became the first African-American elected to the Gardena City Council. Have we ever had an African-American lieutenant governor?
Yes, the one and only Merv Dimley.
Oh, of course. How could I forget
my
that?
mentor.
How could I forget that?
First
Yeah.
black state senator in California, former assembly member, former U.S. congressperson.
And you're looking to be the second one.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Merv Dimley. He was my mentor. He was a tremendous leader for this country and the nation. He really expanded the diaspora of understanding who we were as a people of African origin, and was a tremendous representative for this country over on the continent of Africa and in the Caribbean. So, no, he did great work.
And this is Freedman Fridays. We always talk about reparations. I feel like, oh, and by the way, I'm on my Instagram right now, too, in case you can't get to YouTube. It's DiPrima Radio on Instagram. We're streaming. In case you want to see me and Senator Bradford live in the studio. But look, I feel like the reparations crew, the people, the reparationists, the freedmen, the FBAs, the Pan-Africanists, the ADOs, all of us, really, if we need to start flexing in terms of who is serving up what we're asking for. When we're demanding mechanisms like the Freedmen's Bureau, which your bill is meant to create, like a mechanism for funding, which your other bill is meant to create, like ways to get back land that has been improperly seized, which your other bill aims to do, then we have to show up for you.
We have to not only show up, we got to stand up and we got to speak up.
And we got to ante up.
And we got to be one voice for sure. But I think if we came together collectively, we would have a tremendous impact. I still say we don't understand the power that we have when we go together.
Yeah, you always hear this statistic about how African Americans have this, I don't know, some trillions of dollars in spending power, like we would be in the top 20 nations in the world just on our dollars. Mm-hmm. But yet we have a broke mentality. And I think it's time for us to start flexing that economic muscle at elections. Like, yes, you got to show up and vote. Of course, marching and protesting helps and makes a difference. But you know what else helps and makes a difference? Donating. Because those other people that are writing those 300 letters telling you don't support reparations, they're anteing up. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. I mean, couldn't say it better myself.
Okay, so you just let us know that we have till the end of this month to get whatever bills are going to get out of this. They need to go through the Senate and the Assembly and then be reconciled. Mm-hmm. We have till the end of this month.
Yes.
So it's time to put pressure on our state senators and Assembly members.
Yeah.
And then after that, the governor will have the month of September
to
sign. And so it'll be time to be talking
30
to
days
him.
from whenever the bill
whenever it gets to him. I gotcha. So what needs to happen? Let's talk about those three bills. Where are we with the Freedmen's Bureau, the funding mechanism, and the land?
They're in Assembly approach right now, the Appropriations Committee, and they have to come out in the next week or two. That's first and foremost, getting out of approach. If we don't get them out of approach, we have nothing. They'll never make the floor. So we first have to get them out of approach.
And that's where a lot of bills die, right?
Without a doubt. A lot of bills go to die at appropriations, but we have gotten them out of my house, clearly showing that there will be no great fiscal impact to the state of California. Even support that. We put $12 million. And again, I credit the administration under a tough budget year. We put money aside for reparations. I says, as we've often said, if it's not in the budget, it doesn't exist. Well, reparations now exist because there's $12 million to set this and start this off.
Right. It's no longer just a concept.
Exactly.
It's a line item.
Exactly.
So that's important.
Without a doubt.
So those three, which I view as the three most important. I think I put the apology in there too, but to me, those are the three most important pieces of legislation that have come out so far.
Appreciate
from
it.
the task force.
Yeah.
So they've cleared the Senate. Mm-hmm. They're in appropriations. Who's chair of appropriations?
Buffy Wicks out of San Francisco, former Barack Obama staffer. So let Ms. Wicks know and her committee members know that this is important.
And emails, letters. I remember when I was on television, it was always people that would email or write letters. Mm-hmm. Calls are good, but I felt like written word made more impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of that. It does.
All of it. Whatever you can do, call, write. It all makes a difference. Yeah. March, show up.
And it's more than the chair. It's, I forgot how big their Appropriations Committee has probably at least 18 on them. So, making sure those other folks
Right.
hear
It's
from
it's not just the chair, because everybody gets a vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing all that information. I know CJEC does a good job of following that, but I'm sure it's all on the on a website, right?
Yeah, easily accessible, without a doubt.
Just
Maybe
type
too
in.
easy.
Yeah. Too easy when you're dodging people. But so basically, it's time to really speak out right now. I mean, there's so many people that have been tracking this on Freedman Fridays and everywhere else. All the the task force, the hearings. Right now we're kind of like at one inflection point.
We are there.
Yeah.
We are there. It's a point in this state and in this nation we haven't been before. So it's time to act.
It's kind of exciting.
It is, very much so. I mean, it's opportunity to do a lot of great things and again, set the course for the rest of this country. As you stated earlier, it's been a whole lot of talk, but now is the opportunity to do real action and have substantive results from this.
Men, the mass media group, they've been on the show before. He says August 15th, currently scheduled for appropriations. I'm not sure quite what you're talking about. Paul Lee, I can't check my DMs because I'm streaming on my phone right at the moment. But do you get encouraged, Senator Bradford, when you see more cities and states seating commissions? Like I was actually happy to hear that Tulsa is finally seating a reparations commission.
Yeah. And I'm going to shoot myself for not remembering my colleague out of Oklahoma, state rep, but she's been leading that, and she's been a strong advocate. I'm part of NBCSL, National Black Caucus of State Legislators, and we have been talking about reparations collectively for 5 or 6 years now, and once California moved our package along, New York under the leadership of Senator James Sanders.
Is that Regina Goodwin?
Yes, yeah. And Senator Sanders out of New York, he's leading the way, and so many other state legislators from across this country who are embracing and speaking about reparations, as well as local mayors too. I mean, you have cities who are now looking at reparations. So.
Yeah, including LA.
Yeah.
What about Gardena?
They have a task force.
They do?
Not Gardena, no,
no.
LA. Yeah,
okay, I was
talking
about Gardena.
No.
You'd have to go back to the city council and you're turned out. You can't do that.
That's too hard work.
Do you feel like people, there's so much resistance on some quarters. You're starting to see, some Republicans lining up sort of reparations prevention legislation.
Yeah. I mean, it's even some blacks who are lining up against reparations.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just, peg my, or target my Republicans. It's across the spectrum. There's folks who are saying
conservatives.
Yeah, that this is not necessary. It was, California was not a slave state. We, why should we be responsible for it? That happened so long ago. I didn't own slaves. All those.
Yeah, we can't afford it.
We can't afford it. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then the other piece, the other thing that I hear a lot, which I think is important to talk about, is what you have a task force, and California's is the first, but now there are others being seated. They do a study or they look at our study, and then they come away with bills. And some of those things are not actually going to be reparations. Some of the things that people are, reparations is not welfare, reparations is not scholarships, reparations is not, so how do you combat that or define what reparations is and isn't in terms of the actions that we take in response to these studies?
I mean, I've always tried to frame reparations as, it was never, and I get a lot of pushback when I say it was never about money. It was never about money. When you look at the initial reparations, it was about land. And that's how we pass on generational wealth here in this country. So that was my foundation, where I was starting from. How do we make allow folks to own land? There are people who have lived, African Americans who have lived in this country for generationally for over 200 years, who have never owned property. That in itself is a crime. And when we look at our most wealthiest families in this country, it's not about necessarily the money in the bank. It's about the land that they own. So that's what we're talking about. But I see reparations as a full package similar to the GI Bill, where you have ongoing health care, ongoing education assistance if you choose to go on to college. Find a way to pay for that through our CSUs and UCs. First-time home buyers assistance, again, for individuals who've never owned. If you want to enter business, helping you with, tax-free or interest-free business loans to stand yourself up, exemption from state taxes for a number of years. I mean, it can be a variety of things. So I just always let folks know it's not just one size fits all.
Talking with Senator Steven Bradford, and this is Freedman Friday. We're going to continue this conversation when we come forward. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, Senator Bradford, on what next steps should be when it comes to federal reparations. That's coming up on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Finding a path to a meaningful career, one where you're making an impact and making enough money, it can be tough. There's one path, though, that many young adults are landing on that leads them to careers where they can work outdoors, protect our environment, take on climate change, and get paid while they train. It's the California Conservation Corps. You just have to be 18 through 25 years old to enroll, or a U.S. military veteran through age 29, and you have to be a California resident. That's it. There's no education requirement, no employment history needed. Some Corps members need to finish up high school. Others are college grads. But during their 1 year of service, all CCC Corps members can earn the work experience and certifications needed to become a wildland firefighter, forestry technician, install solar, or build trails in our state parks. Learn how you can enroll at ccc.ca.gov. Do this for you. Become the person you want to be through the California Conservation Corps.
Help prevent gun violence tragedies. Gun violence restraining orders can help to prevent individuals at risk of harming themselves or others by removing their guns for 21 days up to 5 years. Learn more about how to petition for a GVRO and the role of GVROs in safeguarding communities by visiting lacountygvro.org or by calling 1-833-540-0473. GVROs can save lives.
Hey, LA residents, it's planting season and the perfect time to get shade trees growing around your home. LADWP and City Plants are giving every resident up to 7 free trees. That's right, 7 free trees delivered right to your door. Trees are great for the environment, help improve air quality, and can help you save on your bill when you use less air conditioning to stay cool indoors. Learn more at ladwp.com/free trees. That's ladwp.com/free trees.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly into your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in.
store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
You are, and we are talking with Senator Steven Bradford. He's my guest on this Freedman Friday. We've been talking about the state of California, which has been a pioneer in the reparations space, particularly, the task force, the work that you've done, former Secretary of State, former Assemblymember Shirley Weber, now Secretary of State. But what about on the national level? HR 40 or some kind of a national federal study has been stalled literally for decades. And some folks that come on this space say, well, they could just use the California study. Why do we need a federal study? Or the other conversation is, why can't the president just sign something like an HR 40 by executive order? What do you think ought to be next?
Well, electing Kamala Harris as president, and we probably will have an executive order saying, let's study reparations. By taking back the House, we probably would have legislation moving through such as that, asking for a task force. By maintaining the Senate, we would probably have that. So those are critical parts that need to happen in order to really have movement on the federal level. If we didn't have the strong Democratic majority that we have in the California legislature, we probably would not be doing much of what we were doing as well. So that's why it matters, down ballot races, and the House is critical here. And without winning the House and not winning and holding on to the White House, issues such as reparations will never be advanced in a real meaningful way. We have to take our hat off to, the late Congressman John Conyers, who introduced H.R. 40 every year while he was in the legislature. And there are still members following along in that same tradition, but without electing more individuals who truly embrace it, it will continue to be a pipe dream, so to speak. But I think, again, California is a fine example of what can be done. And if we win these elections in the next 90 days, I think you will see real movement on the federal level.
It's a really, really important point, because I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect with activism. And right now, there are things happening on several levels. One, some people are choosing Weston Abdullah. Of course, Abdullah is my friend and colleague. And they just feel like they're disillusioned with mainstream Democrats and Republicans. And I'm guessing that that's not what you would advise folks to do.
No, you got to set your personal feelings and emotions aside and be strategic about looking at the best pathway to victory, but also embracing those individuals that you might necessarily not agree with and sitting down with them. And many times we shut those folks out automatically. I have many colleagues and organizations, so I don't meet with that individual. I don't talk to that person because of boom, 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 boom. You got to have conversation until you have real dialogue and sit across the table. That's how you move people. And we've put too many divides up. And I think sometimes that's what we find when we're selecting a candidate. I'm going with this individual simply because you want a candidate that's just not wedded in just one area. You got to be a little bit more flexible. So it's a lot of great folks out there that can do the job, but you got to be strategic and saying, can we put the coalition together? Can we raise the money? Can we do all those things, the mobilization, to get that person across the finish line? And if not, who else can we work with?
We're actually having online earnest conversations about whether Vice President Harris is black.
That's a joke, but, she's been black all her life. If she was anywhere else outside of this discussion, it's been no question. She was bused to school like many African Americans. You know what I'm saying? She's felt the same level of discrimination that anybody else. And now that she's running for president, I guess she wasn't black enough.
You know what? Chad is in here talking about we need Harris to affirmatively say she would sign federal reparations within the first 100 days. I'm sorry, but that's BS. Because what people want Harris and other candidates to do is say things like free Palestine or reparations now, which will ensure they won't get elected. And then you can feel happy about it, Chad. But guess what ain't going to happen? They won't get elected, so it won't matter if they make a commitment. I just don't agree with that. But on the flip side of that, a lot of people think that former President Trump, for some reason, there's a lot of reparationists that are going GOP, and to me it's illogical because I haven't seen any signs. I mean, I understand your point, Senator Bradford. We shouldn't just go by party or philosophy. We should sit down and talk to people. But I haven't seen any signs of Republicans supporting even a shred of reparations.
I mean, there are some supporters out there.
Lawmakers?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, but there has been plenty of discussion. I mean, I have conversations with my colleagues. Yes, none have voted. Well, they have. I had a couple in the Senate. I give them credit. They voted for one of my
You had a couple of reparations
bills that Republicans voted for, without a doubt. And so there are good members, but again, they're...
So you achieved bipartisanship.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you have to do.
That's a unicorn.
I mean, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, because, again, there are Democrats who don't support a lot of the stuff that you think would be natural to Democrats.
Real talk.
Yeah,
Real talk.
So it's on both sides. So I don't paint folks in a corner.
I agree with that, but Senator, I just don't understand. To me, you got to follow logic too. And being strategic says, has anyone shown any signs of supporting reparations in the past? And I just don't see. I don't see Trump and Vance. I haven't seen any signs that they would.
Well, I'm not saying you're going to get it there. Let's be clear about that. I don't think it's going to come from there. But I think there are some rational people on the other side, because, like I say, I work with them in the state legislatures that are willing to sit down and have the conversations and be educated and come on board. So in the same way exists in Congress, they just have to have a platform. But right now, we're being led by the noise.
Oh my God, almost out of time. Gardena Jazz Festival.
August 25th, the 21st year. The 21st year.
I went last year. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's always a good show. Yeah, and again, we started that at a time when Gardena had no money, and we were killing programs. And I said, hey, what can we do to give something back? And it was totally free to the public for the first 5 years until it got too big, and we had to put a gate up and start charging a whopping $10, and today it's a whopping $25. So, best show in town.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'll definitely be there.
Okay.
Senator Steve Bradford, tell us your website or your social so we can, make a donation, track what you're doing.
I think BradfordforCalifornia.com. I'm the worst at that.
Well, I'll get it, and I'll say it. I'll say it next.
Let me see.
Senator Bradford.
Oh,
thank you so
I have that.
Yay. What does it say?
I don't know.
Let me
Bradford for Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, it is Bradford for Lieutenant Governor. It doesn't have the website on it.
It doesn't?
Yes, it does. BradfordForCalifornia.com.
I was right.
BradfordForCalifornia.com. You were right once again. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Colorado funeral home owners accused of mishandling 190 bodies has been ordered to pay grieving families $900